Hey friends, happy Sunday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate y'all and give you some new meal ideas. Real quick before we get into this week's What's for Dinner, I just wanted to say thank y'all so much for being here. I woke up this morning, it's Saturday, and I woke up to 26,000 subscribers. And that doesn't seem like a lot to some people. I've been here on YouTube for 8 years on this channel, and for 4 of those, I've been making What's for Dinners. And my growth is definitely slower than some, but I truly appreciate all of y'all who come back and continue to watch my videos and support me and my family. It really means so much to me, so I just wanted to take a minute to say thank y'all so much. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night's dinner was very simple. It's all things that I've shared before. We had Tuna Patties, which is a family favorite, and I have a video on that. I will leave it linked down below for y'all. We had some Instant Pot mac and cheese, which I've also shared before, so that'll be linked down below as well. And then just a can of green beans and some sliced tomato with some salt and pepper for those of us that like tomatoes. Saturday night we tried a new recipe. This is a French onion chicken and rice casserole from Plain Chicken, and it was amazing. This recipe starts off with 1 box of the chicken flavored like rice-a-roni. I am using the Aldi brand, and you're just going to make that according to the box directions. So for mine, it says to melt about 2 tablespoons of butter, and then you're going to saute your rice and vermicelli mixture for just a couple minutes. Then you're going to want to add in your seasoning packet and the amount of water that it says on the box, and then bring it to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, I turn it down to a low and cover it and let it simmer for the amount that it says on the box. Mine said 15 to 20 minutes, and anytime I'm making like a rice casserole like this where it's going to go in the oven afterwards, I always do like the least amount of time. So I always simmer it for 15 minutes. So after that 15 minutes, I took off the lid and stirred my rice around and turned off the heat and started adding in the rest of my ingredients. So for my chicken, I am using 2 cans of cooked chicken that I drained. You can use like rotisserie chicken, whatever kind of cooked chicken you want. You just need about 4 cups of cooked chicken. So I get that added in, and then I'm going to add in 1 can of cream of chicken soup, about half a cup of some French onion dip. And then I added in some garlic powder and a bunch of black pepper, some cheddar cheese, and then about half of a can of French fried onions. We're going to save the rest to put on top. Once I had all that mixed together really well, I transferred it to a baking dish and then topped with those remaining French fried onions. And then this went in the oven on 350 for 30 minutes. And here's what it looked like when it came out. I just let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes before serving. And you could serve this with a salad or anything. We just had it by itself, and it was really filling, and everyone loved it. I would definitely recommend checking out this recipe. It'll be linked down below. Sunday night we had another family favorite, and that is Sloppy Joe's. The recipe that we love for this is the Pioneer Woman recipe with a little bit of adaptation. I don't always make it exactly according to her recipe. For one, I always half the recipe because hers calls for 2 pounds of meat. And while I could do 2 pounds, I just freeze my meat in 1 pound portions. So I don't feel like taking out 2 when I don't have to. So I just do 1 pound. Her recipe also calls for some onion and green pepper, but I rarely include that. So I'm starting off by just browning up 1 pound of ground beef with some salt and pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. Once my meat is nearly done browning, I add in a big spoonful of minced garlic and let that cook until the meat is done. Once the meat is done, you can drain off any grease if you have it. I usually use some pretty lean meat, so I don't typically have a lot to drain. But then I'm going to add in the rest of my ingredients. I do about 3/4 of a cup of ketchup, about half a cup of water, about a tablespoon of brown sugar, a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of dry mustard, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a splash of some Worcestershire sauce, a splash of hot sauce, and usually I'll taste it and see if I need to add any more salt and pepper. And then I just let that simmer on a medium-low heat for about 15 minutes. To go with our sloppy joes, I made some tater tots in the air fryer. The kids and Andy like to have some cheese on their sloppy joes, and then those of us that like salad had salad with it as well. Monday night started off with some chicken that I cut up into bite-sized pieces. This is some boneless, skinless chicken breast, and I am seasoning that all over with some cumin, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and chili powder. This is a recipe called Instant Pot Cilantro Lime Chicken Burrito Bowl. I believe it was Kristen Stepp who shared this a couple weeks ago, and instantly I knew I wanted to make it, and I pinned it to my Pinterest board. And so, yeah, I will have her video linked down below if I can find it, as well as the original recipe. So I'm just going to get all of this chicken seasoned up, and then in my Instant Pot on the saute function, I'm going to heat up about a tablespoon of olive oil, and we're going to start cooking our chicken. It doesn't have to be cooked through. We're just going to kind of like brown it on all sides. Once that chicken was kind of golden on all sides, I added in about 1 cup of white rice and a couple cloves of minced garlic. The recipe said 1 clove, but you know how I am. I always do more garlic. I let that cook for about 30 seconds, and then I slowly added in some of my water or your chicken broth. I'm doing water and nor chicken bouillon, so I just slowly added in some of my water to kind of scrape up those brown bits on the bottom of the pan, and then I added in the rest of my water or broth. It's a total of 2 1/4 cups, and then I'm adding in my Norse seasoning to make that some chicken broth. Then I'm going to add in a can of diced green chilies, 1/3 cup of chopped cilantro, some zest of a lime, juice of a lime, and then I did 1 can of drained black beans. The recipe called for pinto beans, but I did black beans because it's what I had on hand. And then we're going to turn this off of the saute function. We're going to put the lid on it with the valve set to sealing, and then let this cook on manual high pressure for 7 minutes and let it do a natural release for 2 minutes. After the natural release for 2 minutes, then you can just go ahead and flip that seal and let it do a quick release. And then once all the pressure was released, I removed the lid and topped this with some cheese and just set the lid back on so that the cheese could melt. To serve this, we just topped it with some Taco Bell sauce, and then for me, I did a little bit of sour cream on top. It was delicious, very filling, because you know you got the chicken in there and the beans and the rice. Super good, and the leftovers of this are really good wrapped up in a tortilla for a nice little burrito. Tuesday night, I tried a new recipe for some air fryer breaded tilapia. So in this first bowl, I am combining 1 large egg and a tablespoon of water and just whisking that together. And then in a second dish, I'm going to mix together some breadcrumbs, salt, pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. The one thing that I would change about this recipe is that it had way too many breadcrumbs. I hate wasting food, and the recipe called for 2 cups of breadcrumbs, and I should have known that that was way too much breadcrumbs for 4 pieces of tilapia. So I would half the breadcrumbs next time, because you can always go back and make more if you need more, but once you've like dipped the fish in there, the rest of this has got to go in the trash. So I was really a little bit upset that I wasted all these breadcrumbs, but what can you do but learn from the experience, and next time I definitely won't use that many breadcrumbs. Then I just took each piece of the tilapia and dipped it in the egg wash and then into the breading mixture, making sure to pack on the breadcrumbs. And then I just placed these on my foil-lined air fryer basket. Then I just sprayed each piece of fish with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray. And then this went in the air fryer at 350 for 10 minutes. And then after that, I took it out, flipped it over, sprayed it with the cooking spray again on this side, and then it went back in the air fryer for another 5 minutes. To go with our tilapia, I just made a can of green beans and some roasted potatoes, kept it really simple. We served the fish with a wedge of lemon, and it was really good, like really light, and just very good tilapia recipe. Wednesday night, I made one of my family's all-time favorite foods, and that is taco spaghetti. This has its own video here on my channel. It's like 4 or 5 years old. Been making this for a while, and if you like taco flavored like pasta dishes and you like cheesy stuff, definitely try this recipe if you haven't already. It is one of our favorites, and everybody who's told me that they tried it has loved it. It's super filling, so we usually only have this on these nights, which was the case for this night. Thursday night brings us to our crock pot meal of the week. I made hot honey barbecue chicken sandwiches again. This comes from a Life from Scratch on Instagram, so I'll have the recipe linked down below for y'all. I am halving the recipe because she says to use 3 to 4 chicken breasts, but I had 2 chicken breasts here that were partially frozen, so I didn't really measure anything. I did measure the apple cider vinegar. I did a 1/4 cup of that, but everything else I just kind of eyeballed. So then I did some barbecue sauce, some Mike's Hot Honey, some Worcestershire sauce, some paprika, some salt, and pepper. And then I just cooked this on high, since mine were partially frozen, for about 4 hours. Then I went in with my little meat masher and kind of shredded up the chicken. I love to use this to shred up chicken. It works so well. It's not just good for ground beef. And I just let that sit in the sauce for 30 minutes to an hour until I was ready to assemble our sandwiches. And I had turned this down to just keep warm for that. So for our sandwiches, I like to do them on ciabatta bread. So I have just ciabatta sandwich rolls that I picked up at Aldi. I always buy these when they're on markdown and then throw them in my freezer to use for dinners later. I'm just going to top it with some of that chicken and then some cheddar cheese. And then I threw this in the oven for about 5 minutes on 425 just to get the bread a little toasty and the cheese melty. And then when they came out of the oven, I topped mine with a little bit of extra Mike's Hot Honey because it's delicious and I absolutely love this stuff. And then to go with this, we just had salad for those of us that like salad, and of course just some fresh veggies for Lily. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. If you made it this far, leave me a heart emoji in the comments down below. And I am so thankful if you made it this far with all of the glitches that were happening in the video. Something happened to my memory card, and I don't know. I didn't notice until today, which is Saturday, and I'm editing this, and I don't know. It's not my camera. It's the memory card that was in it, and I'm lucky I actually got anything off of it because I went to go test that memory card, and the lock button broke off of it, and it's stuck in the lock position. So had that happened before, I wouldn't be able to get anything off of it without like taking it somewhere and them getting it off of there for me. So thankfully I got everything off of it. It's just a little bit glitchy, but next week's video shouldn't be like this because I ordered a new memory card. But let me know in the comments down below if you plan on trying any of these new recipes. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!